SolEx or Solution Extension Expo. Chris Clark, Sales Director of Cad-Capture, and I'm going to be talking you through our solution today. Let's see if I can get the system up and running. I'm going to spend roughly half an hour talking you through our solution, which the title of the session is Bridging the Engineering Data Gap with Asset Navigation 2.0. So we have got a new and improved version of our asset navigation solution. And so I'll go over some of those benefits and then also give a general background of the solution as well. So hopefully you can get a good idea of what the system can do and how it might be able to benefit you and your organization. With that in mind, brief agenda for the session. I'll give you a brief overview of Cad-Capture and who we are. Then I'll get straight into the asset navigation overview and give you sort of the update of what that does in both extraction and activation for the asset extractor and HotSpots, and touch on some of the new developments that have come through from the system recently. Here we go. So Cad-Capture, who are we? Well, we've been in business for a long time now, over 37 years. We're based in the northwest of England in a town called Blackburn, and we've always specialised in engineering, starting off from being a large format scanning bureau and CAD conversion bureau. And then over the years, with those customers that we've helped capture their drawings and documents sort of in the first digital way, they've then asked us how they can manage, distribute, leverage the information within and view those files and the information within it. And that's led us to a number of software solutions over the years. And now the main focus of the business is around the asset navigation solution, which is comprised of a number of different software modules called the AIM suite. As you might guess from the name, the Solution Extension Expo is a group of OpenText partners who are actually on the OpenText price list. So they have a solution extension partner program, which means that OpenText, very good partners, actually resell our solution. And for that, we're also cloud certified. Your OpenText AEs will be able to give you a good overview and insight into our solution, introduce us to us and any of our colleagues if you haven't got direct access at the time. And also they can include it on their price list and sell it through to you as well. So starting with the asset navigation overview, it's mainly focused around asset intensive industries. So anyone who is creating, maintaining, operating or handing over information and data around large scale assets. Here's some examples of the sort of industries where it has a place. And really, the thing that we see in common with all those different industries, the difficulties people and organizations have in terms of accessing information in the right way at the right time. So it means inefficient processes, lots of time wasted looking for data, and the knock-on impact of that, poor levels of safety and compliance and quality. All of these are things that our system can help improve. And another item that often we find people struggle with is the rollout of technology. Even though they have the technology that is very well placed to solve their problems, very often the uptake of the user community is slow or low because either it's not intuitive or it's difficult to use, or perhaps it's hard to actually get that ingrained in the day-to-day activities. And again, our solution, because of its intuitive nature, can often lead and has helped customers get over that hump in terms of getting their end users to adopt these applications that have invested a lot of time and money in for very good reasons. So I guess another thing I'll touch on there in terms of customers, we have a strong history in the oil and gas industry. So we have a number of refineries around the UK, on the west of England, southern Wales, and we've just actually started deployments in the northwest of England as well. We have a whole host of refining and manufacturing operations out of North America. One of our customers has the system deployed at all their 14 refineries. One of the top 10 oil and gas companies in the world has our system deployed at its Gulf of Mexico business unit. And we're currently deploying the system at the first of 3 refineries on a Venezuelan-based refining organization. But it isn't just the oil and gas side of things that can benefit with us. So we also have customers in the nuclear industry, across power generation and distribution, and even to fine metals and mining. Again, because all these industries are facing these sort of challenges, and we've been able to help these organizations when they've used our tool set. So asset navigation itself splits into 2 main parts: the automatic tag extraction and then the activation of those tags. I'm going to go through those 2 parts of the solution separately now to give you an idea of how, firstly, the tag extraction can be used on its own, and then how it leads into the integrated solution that we have for the OpenText asset navigation solution as a whole. So firstly, the automated nature of this means that you don't have to do anything at the drawing level. The system will automatically process both native CAD files and searchable PDFs. So that means that all your drawings and documents, so it doesn't have to be a drawing. We don't actually mind what is in the document itself. The key thing is it's got something that is based on a structured naming convention, and then we can therefore capture that. I'll get into that in a bit more detail later on. But what we can do with that information, we can extract it and then upload it to an ECM, Enterprise Content Management System. So you can create and maintain load sheets, and this can be done standalone. So this might be before an OpenText system is live, or even if an OpenText ECM isn't currently in use. But if and when OpenText is being used, so the Content Suite, XECM, or the Documentum system, then we have an automatic upload into those systems. And in fact, we can also interrogate the drawings if they already lie in those systems as well. So basically, if you have a system, you're running OpenText and the drawings and documents are in that ECM already, then our system can go in, scrape the tags off those drawings without you having to take them out of that repository, and then we can upload the data, the improved metadata, back into the system, so you have vastly improved search and retrieval. In terms of how you can access the tool, again, this is one of the key things that has changed recently with the release of our 2.0 version. We offer the system as a service, and that has been improved drastically because our PDF extraction capabilities are really on a par with the AutoCAD native CAD files capability, and that's a big boon, because so many of our customers, even though they have had native CAD files originally, very often, various different business reasons, they have to use the PDFs, and that is something that it's important to be able to extract the data from. So we can do both those formats, and our ability has improved dramatically within PDFs. So you can have the system as a service, you can purchase the software, you can have it as a subscription option, and also, again, relatively recently, we now have the ability to deliver short-term bulk processing. So very often a client might have the need for maybe 1 to 3 of our extraction modules on their sort of steady state or business as usual throughput, but they might have tens, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of documents that they need to go through initially. One of our clients processed 400,000 drawings and documents within a space of about 3 months when they were onboarding the system to begin with. So that means that you can flex from a capacity planning point of view, have these short-term access to the processing and the extraction module, and then you can reduce down to your sort of steady state requirement from there on in. We also have a fully managed SaaS option as well. So from the extraction and compilation of the database for the asset tags or the asset tag library, that can now be a full service, and that SaaS service can also then integrate into an OpenText environment, either initially or perhaps later on when the OpenText system is deployed, or very often it's going through an upgrade. Very often our system is introduced alongside perhaps a scale up to something like asset operations or the XECM for engineering solution for Documentum and Content Suite. But even if it isn't, or if it's just the XECM for SAP or Maximo, our system can be used effectively in isolation, just linking to the system when the system is ready, and ongoing from there. And again, from the integration options, so I guess I've covered this already, but again, we also have the ability, we don't require, I mentioned the XECM for engineering and the asset operations, we don't require that to work in an OpenText environment. So we can work with the base system in both instances, D2 and Content Suite, but then we can also, with the XECM framework, we can show, and I'll show you this later on, we can integrate directly into the SAP Business Workspace or the Maximo Business Workspace as well. And that can be very powerful in terms of bringing your information and data into line with your lead application. So there's a brief heads up of what's changed, what's new, and what the system does. Now let's just give you an idea of how it does it. So it's based on pattern recognition, as I think I mentioned before, which is using regular expressions. So that's back to anything that is based on a structured naming convention in a document, the system can be configured to capture. Some of the standard things that we would look to capture, here's some examples. So we've got continuation tags, instrumentation, equipment, and pipes. All of this is configurable. You can just focus on one asset type, so it might be just equipment, or you might have subdivisions of that type of equipment as well. So all of that is processed and compiled in a asset tag library or database. So you have the tags per drawing and drawings per tag relationships available to you. So that in itself just gives you vastly improved visibility of what drawings and documents you need to be looking for and utilizing when you're carrying out a specific task. Excuse me. What the system also does is shine a light on where there are errors or inconsistencies. So here you have an example where there's a correction needed because the continuation tag in this case has some spaces in there where it shouldn't have. The naming format is correct on the right, but this is how it's actually been entered onto the drawing. Similar errors can occur when an OCR process has gone through and then it's mistaken letters and numbers and that sort of thing. The key thing is that we can highlight where there is a problem there, so the system would not be, or the document or the data would not be findable if someone is using the correct terms from a search perspective. If there are no safety implications, then we can also actually tolerate those errors. So basically we can capture what's on the page, we can then correct it at the metadata level, and that means the search and retrieval issue is fixed without the need to actually do anything or change the drawing underlying at all. But sometimes the customers do see this purely as a way of improving their quality, and when they see these errors, they may undertake the task of rectifying them. Either way, it can be a huge safety and quality improvement by knowing where there are errors and then either fixing them yourself or tolerating them automatically. And again, when something fairly trivial like this with no real safety implications has been carried out over hundreds of files, then it's a lot easier to tolerate it automatically rather than go in and correct all of those files where it's happened. And just as an illustration of what's behind those regular expressions, so here's an example. So here we have a vessel, and the pattern would be 1 to 3 letters, a dash, and then 3 numbers. So it'll capture anything that looks like that. In this case, V-110. It's categorized it as a piece of equipment because that's the name or the rule that it's been captured by, and we've also got the location on the page, so that'll help us later on when we do the HotSpots side of things. And we know which document it's on, which page it's on within a document, and where it is on the page within the document as well. We can also handle abbreviations. So here you see abbreviation. This is for 100C and D, but it's written once, and we've taken a line item, so you have dedicated line items for each tag rather than just the abbreviation that's used. Again, for instrumentation, there are different ways of displaying this, and very often it's within an instrumentation bubble, or we found some customers where the bubble actually includes 2 arcs rather than a bubble itself. We have plugins, and we can use machine learning to actually recognize this sort of information, qualifying it by what it's close to, what it's within. And similarly, we have the ability to recognize text on a PDF where it isn't in any sort of block and there is no direct relationship between the text, but we can group it together and concatenate it, therefore making an instrument tag which otherwise wouldn't be accessible from a search and retrieval point of view. So general examples of the sort of things that we capture, again similar to what we showed on the previous slide, and just some examples of the sort of rules and regular expressions that have been used. It all looks Klingon to me, but the guys much cleverer than me say that these are all actually relatively easy to get a handle on. And there's various different ways of creating and maintaining these, including AI tools that help you with the building and maintenance of the regular expressions. And the key thing is that with all this processing and with all this capture of the text, it can be done initially, and that gives you the initial granular view of tags per drawing, drawings per tag. It creates the database, but then it's maintained ongoing. So every time a new drawing or document is entered into the system, then that goes through our extraction process, so that will then update the metadata. So any tags that have been added or removed from an existing drawing or any new drawings that have been added will have all of the information metadata uploaded or maintained accordingly. So that is the extraction side of things. So that's the first half, and that really is about the data and the significant value in that alone, just being able to surface that data, whether it's part of an integrated OpenText ECM deployment or whether it is just an organization where they have a data challenge. The gap is they know what's in their lead application, they're not sure what's in their drawings, and therefore they can't make that connection. We can provide that service in a variety of ways to help you make sense out of that chaos and bridge that data gap. The hotspot side of things is the activation. So this is where, when you're viewing, and this is particularly within the OpenText environment, in Documentum or Content Suite Extended ECM, when you hover over one of the assets that has been scraped, you have the ability to then access a dynamic link or hotspot, which means that the right-click menu that you see here, which is fully configurable, allows you to navigate to, drill down to, and traverse across multiple documents and data and source information sources to get to the information, document, and content that you need. So out of the box will be the related documents. So that's just going back into the repository in use and saying, show me all of the drawings and documents where V190 is mentioned in an engineering context. So this is the list of the drawings and documents. So you've got process flow, P&IDs, the plot plan, data sheets, just as an example. And that in itself can be very powerful, just allowing people to intuitively and quickly get to the data and drawings that they need. Another example would be how we can access other systems, particularly using the XECM or Extended ECM framework, the SAP Business Workspace, or indeed we can do it for the Maximo EAM system as well. It can be directly accessed from the drawing, which again gives you a very powerful and quick way of accessing the information that you need from your lead application from an EAM point of view for engineering content. Added to that is the ability for the Cad-Capture system to create the business attachment, so all the relevant documents that would need to go in to a business workspace or a portal that's dedicated to a particular asset. All the related documents that you saw there could also be added and maintained as the business attachments within the business workspace. And I'll show you a live example of that, assuming my demo system hasn't gone to sleep in a very short time. So just to show you here, the extraction side of things means you can upload the metadata. So from the search and retrieval point of view, you now have visibility of which tags belong or exist on which drawing. So you can simply put in a search string, get the information directly from the ECM. And as I mentioned again, we can also create and maintain those business attachments. So you have the unstructured engineering documents and the content that they hold alongside the structured lead application data. Right, so that was a quick run through, an intro to the system. I'll just go to a demonstration, but just quickly, are there any questions before I do this at this stage? Don't think anything's popped up on the system. So, okay, so I'll carry on. Let's see if this is going to let me, there we go. So here we have an extended ECM, so content suite environment. And this actually has a full system, including the SAP and Maximo systems in the background. So we'll open up a drawing. So this is using the intelligent viewing viewer from OpenText. And here you see the drawing opening. That was too quick for my liking. So let's see if it's working. Now I think I'm going to have to, oh, here we go. It caught up with us. So let me close that. Right, so here you have the P&ID. Let's go over there. Let's get to that. On the left-hand side, you have the HotSpots menu. So this is showing you a variety of different things, and not least the ability to turn on and load and show all of the tags that exist on the drawing. Another way of illustrating that would be the filter list. So this shows you there's 104 different tags that have been activated, extracted and activated and categorized on this drawing. This filter list can also be used for engineers if they want to navigate around let me turn that off, it might be easier. Navigate around a busy P&ID, so you can just click on a tag and it'll zoom into where you need to be. And this is a great example, as I was showing you before, of an abbreviation. So you've got that abbreviation of E-H, which is all of the F and G, but you have a right-click menu for each of those items. Okay, so I'll go into the filter list, and you can also start typing, and it'll also populate for, oops, I type incorrectly. So if I'm looking for a particular pump to carry out an activity, let's say to maintain or replace a particular asset. So here we have pump 110. Now, straight away, I can right click onto here and say, show me all of the documents and relevant drawings that would go along with this system. And it seems to have fallen asleep. Why is it not doing that? Let me just click on it and see if that works. I think it's logged me out. Oh, it's thinking about it now. There we go. Right, sorry, the connection is sometimes a bit iffy. So I've clicked on this, show you the right click option in a second, but here is a list of the related documents. So you've got, again, as you saw in the PowerPoint, the sort of documents generally would be a process flow, a plot plan, data sheets for both for the pump, but also for the motor. So here you have, if you're going to carry out some work on the pump, then it's very likely you're going to need to know some information about the motor as well. So in that case, you can look at the motor itself and say, okay, Well, let's see information. What else might I want to see? Well, you can see information from other data sources. So here you can access the repositories such as SharePoint, but also you can access other data sources as well. So you might want to, if you were looking to say, if it was instrumentation, you might want to go to InTools for other information. You might want to go to an Esri system to access some GIS information. Just an example, there might be just some real-time data feed. So this just gives you the ability to really navigate to and traverse across multiple systems for related information to support the business activity that you're carrying out. What you can also do is, if you're looking at this pump, you might want to walk across and walk the line and say, okay, on drawing 4, I want to see what the downstream implications are for anything I do on this pump. So I'm going to go to the next drawing. We're on drawing 4. We can click on this continuation tag where it says that the line is continued, and it will open up that drawing, give you direct access to the information in that drawing. So this is opening up the drawing 5, and again, you'll also be able to see where you came from as well. And whilst we're on here, what I'll do is I'll show you another example of what we can do in terms of tolerating errors. So here you have 4 different vessels. The only one that's correct is the one in the bottom left-hand corner, the V-402A. All the others have an error of some sort. The 401A has an underscore, 401B has no space, and 402B has a space. However, if we go in here and we search accordingly, so what is it, V-401A. So this will show that it's captured this even though it's incorrect. So this is where we can correct the data, the metadata level, and not have to change the drawing. So you have the ability to access that even though the information isn't actually correct on the drawing. And what we also have in here is what we call HotSpots history. And this will keep a track of all of the information and drawings that you visit during a session. And that can be saved. So that can be very useful for allowing you to start where you left off. But also you can use that to save, if it's periodic maintenance, you can save that as a work pack. And that effectively gives the next person to carry out that task in 3 months or however long it is before it's carried out again. Starting point of all of the drawings and documents and the latest revisions of each that were used the last time that task was carried out, which again can be a huge time-saving endeavour. So I'll click on this drawing and go back in the HotSpots history and take us back to the drawing we started from. And then we'll go back into our famous pump P110. So I started off with the right click, so we'll go back into that. And so we've showed the related documents, but what I didn't do actually was open any of those, so I'll quickly do that. So again, from the datasheet point of view, you might want to open the datasheet for the motor or the pump. Quickly click on that. That is a PDF. So you have a captured tag in its own right, and you have the same capability there. So you could start here and then traverse back to the original drawing or document. In this case, I'll just go back to it in this manner. And then what you've also got is the ability to scroll up a bit. Finally, go to the business workspace. And this is really when you have lead applications such as SAP PM, Plant Maintenance, or Maximo. You can use the business workspace concept from OpenText, and you can go directly into that environment via this system. And also this same environment is available from the other side. So this is like a two-way mirror. So this gives you visibility of all of the documents and drawings within the OpenText repository, but it also gives you visibility of the data held within SAP. So here you have the asset information in here, and you can have the parent-child relationships and the other related work orders. All of that information is available here. So if somebody is in the lead application, such as SAP, they will have access to this same portal from the other side of the mirror. So they'll be able to click on the tab and see all of the same drawings and documents and data, and then they can click on the drawings within this portal or this workspace, and that will then open up the drawings, which are actually not in SAP at all. They're in the OpenText system. So that's very powerful in terms of bringing the unstructured and structured data together and allowing people to see the information that they need to carry out their work tasks. And just an example of let me see if we've got a PDF drawing. We have example PDF. So we work with native CAD files. We also work with the PDFs that I've hopefully shown you before in terms of the data sheets. But here you have a PDF which has, let's see how many is on this one. So there's 97 tags on this. And we also can deal with very poor quality or raster images where there's no OCR possible. And you can actually paint on with a heads-up display the tags themselves, which are then automatically added to the database. And that document, even though it's a legacy document with nothing really extractable electronically, you've then turned that into a smart document and you can access the information in the same way. I hope that was as of interest. And again, please shout out any questions if you have. But that's just really as a very brief overview of the asset navigation end user experience, particularly with the hotspots within the open text environment. So in summary, the system firstly has the extraction capabilities of taking the structured data from unstructured engineering documents, compiling that into a tag database or an asset tag library, identifying and, where appropriate, correcting all of those errors automatically. And all this is done without the need to make any changes to the drawing or document. And then this can be a very valuable data source for master data governance and to compare what you've got from the ground up in terms of the drawings with the lead application data as well, and you can identify any consistencies and determine where the gap is. As I mentioned, in terms of raster images, you also have the ability to draw on these manual tags, which then can be activated, can be added to the database at the very least. And if hotspots are in use, then they're also added as hotspots when that drawing is opened within the OpenText viewer as well. And all this information can be uploaded both initially and then ongoing to the OpenText repository to maintain that information. So it isn't just a point in time scrape. It's a fully maintained view of all of the asset tag information you have within your drawings and document. As for the end user side of things, well, the hotspots, a fast, intuitive search and retrieval process by allowing people to intuitively link on the tags, get to the information, the system that they need directly from the drawing, using that as an information dashboard. And they can even do things like walk the line, so they can traverse across multiple documents in a fast, efficient manner. And again, similarly to in the earlier slide, overcome errors and inconsistencies and make sure they can utilize the information that should be in the drawing, even if, strictly speaking, it isn't correctly noted. Again, it's a very, very intuitive system. We like to think it works how engineers think in terms of the document and the drawing and the asset that they're working on, rather than the system and the repositories where that information is stored and managed. So, summary: identify, correct, validate, utilize, and activate all of your information without any need to make any changes to the drawing. And we even, as everybody else in the world is, we're making use of AI. Firstly, we use AI in our development and software processes, not least for the creation of some of the regular expressions, but also the system that we deliver could also be used as an input or a training mechanism for a large language model in an engineering-wide environment. We allow the AI to know where it needs to look. If we're looking for trend analysis, pattern recognition, preventative maintenance, that sort of thing, then we give it the ability to find the drawings and documents to then build it into its neural network to understand what is going on and then respond to the requests that people put on it. So in terms of the benefits that we deliver, well, again, I touched on these to begin with, but really it's about dramatically improved search and retrieval, really giving it to people at the fingertips, literally. In a touchscreen environment, it works on mobile devices as well. But you can drill down and access the information that you need in a fast, efficient way, reducing project delays. It's ideal for handover, helping make sure that any handover of documentation is consistent and accurate. So we call it inbound drawing verification. So you can make sure that if you get a batch of drawings from a third party or a supplier, then you'll be able to say, okay, the manifest says there's a list of 500 tags here, but we can very quickly use the system to check and see what tags are actually on there. And then you can push that back for remediation if the delivery does not include what it should do. Reduced downtime, again, the work pack creation, the ability to find information far more readily, the ability to do either enterprise-wide or unit-specific spare part search. So again, we have a lot of companies where they want to be able to do that. They have very similar deployments of their asset equipment at different locations, so they can very quickly then go and search if they need a spare part in one location. Are there any other spares elsewhere in the business, and do that, particularly if the manufacturer's told them there's a 3-week or a 3-month lead time on actually getting the part to them, because the loss of downtime there can be considerable. The ability to improve and increase compliance and safety. We can help you spot the errors, and then you can either rectify them manually or we can tolerate them, and therefore the time to data is significantly improved and make sure people are getting the right information as and when they need it. And the ability to leverage existing investments, so particularly if you've got an open text environment, you've got AutoCon deployment, and you've got other systems such as SAP or Maximo that you want to be able to use effectively and efficiently, then this is something that can be supported by our system across all of the different enterprise-wide tools, making sure that the uptick is done as it should be. And again, the AI for engineering means that you really have the ability to take the latest and greatest in the AI world and utilize that within an engineering environment.